This is Just Common Sense, a common sense approach to life with Dr. Johnny Hunter.
That's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home.
Well, greetings and salutations, and welcome everyone once again to Just Common Sense, taken from Proverbs 2:7. Which says, he grants a treasure of common sense to the honest. He is a shield to those who walk with integrity. And I want to once again thank you and your family for listening and friends for tuning in to WCLE and Christian 105.7 FM. And we always remind you that if for any reason you get to your destination, if you're in a car before it is, you can always listen to us again at jcsradio.org. I'll come back on to WCLE and Christian 105.7 FM's website, and they do keep the podcast for the programs that's went on today. This is really a dynamic time here, and I have on the phone with me today. I was hoping to have him right here in person, but he's on the phone, which is still fine with us. We have Jay DeLancy. He's the author of Aliens Among Us, and that book is about non-citizen voting in America and what can be done about it. You know, he was the founder of Voter Integrity Project of North Carolina. And I just want to give you an idea why I asked Jay to come back on, because every time he's been on, it's been very educational for us and also very motivating. And he really has a challenge that we can really work to make sure that Christians not only vote, but our vote actually counts. Let me instead of reading a big thing about one of them where he's educated and all those other wonderful things about him, let me just read a couple of articles that came up in 2012, August the 30th in 2012. Nearly 30,000 dead voters found in North Carolina election rolls. And they put down here, they said the Voter Integrity Project of North Carolina has delivered to the NC Board of Elections today the names of just over 30,000 deceased NC residents who were still on the state's voter roll, in some cases for almost a decade. And the group's work is a key finding in their citizens' audit of how the state's election boards have been conducting their list maintenance duties. And also, they come up again. It was in 2025, the Carolina Journal reported, this was on March 19th, that election integrity activists offers process for resolving Griffin-Riggs election dispute. That was a major dispute. And the head of the Voter Integrity Project has set up a proposal for resolving North Carolina State Supreme Court election dispute without throwing out more than 65,000 ballots cast last fall. And they said the head of it is urging the state Court of Appeals to issue an order that would disqualify votes that never should have been counted in the 2024 state Supreme Court election, without threatening most of the 65,000 ballots targeted by Republican candidate Jefferson Griffin. Now, election integrity activist Jay DeLancy, that's him, plan spells out the possibility of a new election between Griffin and the Democrat Allison Riggs. And DeLancy offered his plan in a friend of the court brief, which he filed on March the 12th, and the appeals court accepted and published the brief on that Tuesday. And that's why, sometimes even when it comes to the word of God, it's not the hearers of the word, but it's the doers. Whenever the Lord put things in the Bible, it's not people that are just listening and hearing, but people that are active in doing. And this brother is active and he is doing. And I saw a thing from AI where it said, Kate Barr, a Democrat, is running as a Republican in North Carolina 14th Congressional District to highlight issues of gerrymander to challenge incumbent Republican Tim Moore. She claims that running in the Republican primary is the only way to compete in a heavily gerrymandered district. Folks, if there's a time to vote, now is the time. But when you see somebody just telling you, no, I'm not a Republican, I'm going to be running as a Republican anyway, it's time for us as Christians to wake up and not sit on the sideline. Jay, welcome to the program today.
Well, thank you, Johnny. Hope you're doing well.
Oh, I tell you, there's so much going on here. I am doing well. And, we have a number of things that happen. And I said, I'm going to talk to Jay about this because the Cumberland County Board of Education, they're recommending 9 school closures right here in Fayetteville, And they held 2 meetings on February 9th to decide which schools the district going to be closed. And they did it without talking to the parents, like talking about it. And we went to a meeting where we had Rachel Riley even reported in Fayetteville Observer that more than 50 people gathered on February the 9th at the meeting in the church at Cliffdale Community. And in opposition to the Cumberland Board's education recommendation to stop year-round school and potentially close and consolidate some schools. Now, the parents, this event was actually hosted by parents of students at E. Miller Elementary School. That's a year-round school. But now they're getting ready to change it to just a regular schools, and for the parents, that's logistics nightmare, to say the least. But the parents were very perturbed that they hadn't even been talked with or talked about. And what bothered me was that Senator Applegate shows up, and she blamed the Republicans for it. She said that majority, that was the implication. She implied the majority who's running the legislative in North Carolina has not got a budget right, so the school board doesn't really have a budget to really deal with, and that's what put them in their dilemma. And I was so upset, but I thought I'd be quiet. I said, nope, let me call Jay. Let's talk about some of the things going on. So, Jay, what is your take on everything that's going down? And you don't have to just concentrate on what I was talking about. What else is on your heart? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, first off, Val Applewhite, that was a cheap shot just to shift the blame when it's the school board. They're primarily the ones making the call. And the state, they haven't cut funding to education I haven't heard anything about that. So I wonder what she's talking about. That's some crazy talk right there.
Yeah.
What we got going on right now is, I don't know if you heard, but there's a primary election going on right now.
Yes.
The big things we're here, we're hearing actually some good things, because there's a new spirit within the election administration after the legislature changed state law, and they took the the election agency away from the governor and gave it to the state auditor.
Oh.
And it seems unusual. I mean, the other states do similar things. I know in Texas, the tax collector has a big role. The county tax collector has a big job in the election business.
Wow.
So you never know. They just assign it wherever they want to. But this one's interesting because Bullock is a Republican. And what we're seeing right off the bat, the difference between the previous that were all Democrats and the Republican, is that he's not being knee-jerk to take away the rights of people who are observing elections. Mm-hmm. Because we really stress poll observing as a first job somebody can do to learn how elections operate, to get trained as a poll observer and to go in and watch.
Right.
And typically the previous leadership was they were finding ways to restrict observers and stop them, and just everything, not just observers, but even the people out front who are electioneering, they call them. They're handing out flyers for their candidate, getting a last minute chance to persuade voters as they walk in. And the previous administration had created these little taped off zones where you have to stay in that little zone called an electioneering zone.
Wow.
And it's silly. Yeah. It's silly, and it's unenforceable because there's no, they have no right. We have natural rights, and we have First Amendment rights to free speech. And the electioneering zone was outside of the area that is controlled by the person running the polls. So they've got a 50-foot perimeter around the building, around the door, the entrance to the voting enclosure, not the whole building, but around like if you're meeting in a school,
right?
That 50-foot line goes from the door where people come in to vote, and that area is controlled by the election officials, and you can get in serious trouble if you're inside that zone, and the election official, is alerted to it, and they make a stink about it. It's one of those areas of law that that person has jurisdiction. But outside of that 50-foot zone, we've seen groups go out there and set up food tents and play loud music and all that. And the people, the people inside have no jurisdiction over that unless it's so loud that they need them to turn it down, because if it's so loud they can't do their job. That's one thing. But there was a rule that was passed, a law that was passed, creating these electioneering zones. But and the previous administration was saying that if you step outside of that zone, you can be prosecuted. And we argued that no, you have no authority out there because it's outside of the 50-foot barrier. Mm-hmm. And this new administration has said, no, you're right. We do have no authority out there. So you can go anywhere you want to. And the whole purpose of that zone is that you're guaranteed to have some space if there's none other. But typically they were putting them up across the parking lot or in some strange place where no voter walks by.
Wow.
So, you're over there with your flyer for your candidate screaming at people like you're at the state fair. They're trying to get them to come over to your booth. Hey, why don't you come over here? No, they don't. People don't want to be bothered. But people do want information. So, I'll see people go, you have a big issue locally, maybe a property tax hike or something like that, or something, and then someone puts a voter guide out in municipal elections and said, do you want to see who's against the tax hike? And, voters are going to go, yeah, let me get that. Or, maybe you got a bond issue or something that people are for it or people are against it. And it's the right of every American to be able to approach voters and not to block them from voting, but just to give them information if they want it. You don't shove it in their faces and you don't block them. You don't get in their way and make them not let them get around you. That's called intimidation. And there's another word for it. You're not allowed to do. You're not supposed to interfere with their right to vote. Excuse me. So, but you can offer them a flyer. Anyway, it was just nice to see that there's new integrity in it. They're letting people do that campaigning, which maybe your listeners don't like that. They're like, I don't want to talk to those people.
but I tell you what, some of these places, I know there's a Seabrook auditorium, which is the center where they're doing one of the primaries. They even have a truck out there, and if you got that little "I voted," you actually get a free chicken sandwich.
There you go. So a certain candidate, I have no idea knowing who it is, but a certain candidate is going on knocking on doors and saying, hey, go vote today, you get a free chicken sandwich. Yeah. And so that's the way you rally your voters, the candidate can do that.
Wow. Yep. And and you know what? Well, back to something there. I remember Senator Applewhite, what she had said. Applewhite, what she had said was that they had not passed a budget. So since they hadn't passed a budget, that was the problem with the school boards here. But I think you explained to me when there's a budget not passed right away, that don't mean they are penniless.
Yeah, if that were true, you'd have no government funded. It'd be like a government shutdown. That's not true at all. What they do is they have a continuing resolution of last year's budget. So, whatever they were getting in the previous budget bill, they're still getting. That money still flows. And there's, that's just silly to talk that way. I don't know. I would say a candidate who does that thinks you're too foolish to know. Because you'd see police departments, you'd see all the schools, they'd be shutting down without any money. Well, who's paying the teachers? You ask her that and go, well, that's in part of that's in the budget that carries over from last year. And that's all it is. They're carrying over last year's budget. But unless you ask her that question, she just says, oh, those Republicans are doing this because they didn't pass the budget. They're trying.
Yeah. Wow. What I tell you, what has been interesting for me, I saw up in New York. It's one of those places where the governor said, "Oh, you don't really need ID to vote," and all those kinds of things. And of course, a storm system has hit there, and the mayor and everybody they are setting it up so you can volunteer to help shovel snow and work on the emergency crew. But to do so, you got to have ID. In fact, you got to have at least 2 to 5 forms of ID to prove who you are before you can volunteer to help shovel snow in New York. And I thought, I said, now, wait a minute, that's kind of hypocritical, you know?
Well, the first time back in 2011, in that period when Beverly Perdue was governor and the legislature had gotten a Republican majority for the first time in both houses for the first time in over 100 years. It had been since Reconstruction. And the governor, she vetoed the first voter ID law that was ever introduced, the first bill ever introduced by the legislature and sent to the governor's mansion. It was House Bill 351 back in the day. But anyway, the day she vetoed it, all the lawmakers got an invitation to go. It just coincidentally that she does an annual ball for all the lawmakers to come to it. It's just, kind of like they have something in Washington, the press club meeting or something where everybody gets together socially. You have these things that kind of everyone goes, Democrats and Republicans, enjoying the night together and all that. And the governor had that event. But the invitation, and somebody read it from the floor of the chamber, Senator or Representative Stam read the invitation because it said 2 forms of ID were required in order to enter the ball.
Wow.
The same day she vetoed the voter ID law.
Wow. That's something. And I'm getting more concerned now because it appears that when people say, if you do voter ID, you're hurting the minorities. And especially they make it sound like this black community is really not smart enough to get ID. And I'm thinking think about what that's really is saying, because we have some illegal aliens we found out that's able to get a driver's license to drive a tractor trailer truck. And they get no commercial license, but they're saying a black person not smart enough to even get a regular license. So I'm going whoa.
Did you hear what Gavin Newsom said the other day I think it was in Atlanta? Tried to relate to black people in his audience. It was at I'm not sure what the event was, but he was hosted on stage by a black host. And I understand the audience is predominantly black. And he's trying to relate to them. And he said, hey, I'm like you. I had a 960 SAT and I can't read my speeches. Says,
now,
it's insulting.
Wow. I mean, that is, because what he's saying is, listen, guys, y'all not all that smart. Well, I want you to know I'm not all that smart either, but my 960 beat your 940, but, wow. I wonder, do they really think, maybe perhaps I call some things Freudian slips, It's almost like what they've been saying in the background finally comes up to public and they finally say it right out in the open. Wow.
Yes, indeed. And that's, people have to, I would hope people will see it. Black folks will see it and realize that just because someone has a D behind their name doesn't mean that that person has your best interest. I look at guys like William Barber, the Reverend Barber, NAACP, David Webb, a guy who later became a Fox News employee, but he was just a radio host, a talk show, just like you and me, just like you. He had his own radio show, and he ambushed Barber one day over voter ID back in the run up to the 2012 election, and he screamed at Barber. He says, "All these black people around," and Barber's trying to say that voter ID is racist, and Webb just started hollering at him, going, "You are just trying to." How do you put? He said, "Tell these people their lives are going to be better off in 10 years from now. Tell them if they listen to you, their lives will be better off. You've done nothing except." He was going after them. But I remember that line: "Tell them they'll be better off in 10 years."
Wow.
And he wouldn't do it because he knew it would be a lie. And that's and he's been getting money for them on their behalf. Educated, advocating for them by a bunch of white liberals, in my opinion. But they were. And you know what Malcolm X said, the most dangerous. Do you remember that quote?
Yes. And he did not, it wasn't people, he didn't trust white people. No, he didn't trust liberal whites. And he
That's
was
right.
very adamant because he felt they had another agenda that they were going, an immoral agenda. The way he described it as an immoral agenda, they were going to ride in on the back of the civil rights movement. And,
That's what they've done.
And that's what he was right. They have done that. And I remember, and people got to understand, these primary elections are very important. But even more important is knowing who it is you're voting for. When you start talking about it, I remember something that happened in around about 2017. They had there was a meeting right here at First Baptist Church. The Congressional Black Caucus showed up. Some of their members showed up, and they want to encourage blacks to vote, because they wanted to do some things for us, get to help the community out, and because they needed a majority. At that time, the Republicans had the majority, and it was a midterm election time, and sure enough, they end up getting the majority. And when they took over the Senate and House, you know what they did? Impeach Trump. That was their main reason for coming here to Fayetteville, to try to get more people on board so they can help impeach Trump. And I try to tell people, no matter how small you are, Fayetteville might be just one city, but Fayetteville, Charlotte, Raleigh, and Durham, that kind of runs the brink of what happens right here in North Carolina. And and when they can just get us to follow along no matter what, that's not good. That's not good.
Yeah. Well, this is the problem, because they have their own agenda. Yeah. And what they do is they run candidates as good old Joe down the street. You know him. He's not like those bad guys. Oh, he's not like those people in Washington. He's not crazy like those Democrats are. Like women, men and women's sports. No, he's not like that. He's not like those people. And then once he gets in, he does exactly as you say. He toes the line and does whatever they tell him to do. And this is what I'm hearing, that they might be having a convention this summer to help. The Republicans and the Democrats are going to have a convention to get people to see the national agenda. Yes, that this is what, if Democrats get back in, what they're going to do, and if Republicans get in, this is what they're going to do, and let the voters decide which vision they want. Because I don't care about, hey, that senator, that congressional candidate in Fayetteville, nice guy, I've known him, he was my barber or whatever, nice guy, I want to send him to Washington. Problem is, when that guy goes to Washington, he's not going to be your barber. He's going to be there, a team player on their bench who's going to vote to do whatever their leadership says to do, and it ain't good.
That's not good at all. And
it's not good.
And I think about like Fayetteville. Here we are, just a nice little place here in North Carolina. However, the reason that Congressional Black Caucus could even get in here, because at that time, even though the president was a Republican, our governor and the mayor of Fayetteville were both Democrats. And they helped open the door for that Congressional Black Caucus to come and bring their agenda right down here in Fayetteville too. And that national agenda, when I look at it, there's only one group that's been out there pushing for abortion. There's only one party that's been pushing it the whole time. There's been only one party out there been pushing this transgender mess out there and confusing children. And finally, one detransitioned child turned around when she got old and turned around and sued them. So now all of a sudden they realize, that's not good medicine at all. Now, but at the same time, it was just one party that was pushing for same-sex marriages. And once you start thinking about that, you got to realize they have a national agenda. Even when you elect them locally, they open the doors for the other ones.
That's it. That's why you got to know, as you were saying earlier, you got to know your issues, know who you're voting for.
Okay, now Jay, we're about at the 5-minute marker now, and I really want you to take a moment out so you can tell people how they can stay in touch with you and watch what's going on, because your information has been, so it's not only been helpful, it's been very accurate, and even with that in that 2025, when you actually did something where the court even said, okay, yep, we'll take him as a brief. That means a
Johnny,
lot.
you don't know the rest of that story.
Yes.
The court actually, they took some of my idea and put it in their opinion. They didn't quote me, but they don't quote you. They just steal the idea.
Yes.
But the appellate court put it in their opinion, and then the Supreme Court ignored the appellate court, and they had a whole different idea. They didn't even address my idea. They went back because the Republican guy was trying to just throw out 65,000 votes.
Right.
And the Democrat wanted to keep them all. And what I was saying was do a mailing and find out which ones are legit and which ones are not, and then recalculate it. And if you still don't know who won with all these outstanding votes that were fraudulent, don't throw them out, but hold a new election. Mm-hmm. And that would have been legal. It would have been expensive. It would have been time consuming, but it would have been perfectly legal under law. And the appellate court agreed with my idea to do the mailing and then to hold a new election potentially.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, I like your idea for one reason: common sense.
You ought to name a program that.
Yeah, I love it. But Jay, tell people where they can follow you on the website or anything that you have out there to let people stay in touch with what you're doing and what they can be doing.
All right. Now I have made a change. I still have a website called voterintegrityproject.com. Mm-hmm. And I still have that, but I'm doing new writing on something called Substack, and I have a link on I'm going to make a better link so people can find it. But my Substack is where I'm having a lot of fun these days,
right? Because
it's a little bit different. We're voting. I'll go into the economics and it bore your audience. But Substack, it's an app, Substack, Substack, one word, and my name, Jay DeLancy. It's JayDelancy. Mm-hmm. It's only one E in my last name. But anyway, what I do on that site, or Vote Checker, they can find me there too. Vote Checker on Substack, and I'll send you some links if you want to include them. At least with your online portion of the show.
Okay.
But so writing about that gal, we call them blue rhinos. These people like that Congressman Katie, congressional candidate.
Yes.
Kate, I got to find the article. Kate, I want to say Kate Barr. I don't remember her name now.
Kate Barr. Barr.
Okay, it is Kate Barr.
She's a Democrat running as a Republican.
Yeah, she was a Democrat, and she freely admits that it's that she wants to fool people, and and there's a lot more like it. She's not the only one doing it. There are a lot of people doing it, and it's an issue that we first found in 2014. And I found out they were doing it in North Carolina to a conservative Republican Marine out of Jacksonville.
Wow.
And I went to the party chair and said, you need to close your primaries. And I explained it to him. And he argued with me to make me realize that he likes it the way it is. Mm. And then when a candidate a couple of years later, a guy, a very wealthy individual, decided he was going to run for state party chair, and we told him about that issue. And he agreed. He said, yeah, because what it would be is you have to be a registered Republican to vote in Republican. Mm-hmm. And the state, once he put that on as his issue, the Republican Party got real upset, because when they have it open like this, they get more liberal Republicans in, because what they get is they get unaffiliateds who are they're Democrat leaning, and if they don't have a good primary candidate, they'll go ahead and vote in our primary. I'm a Republican now. I wasn't, but I joined the Republican Party about a year ago. So they went ahead and joined. I mean, they don't join the Republican Party, but they get a Republican ballot as an unaffiliated. Mm-hmm. And as one of our friends said, it's like having the Baptists vote for the next pope. It just makes no sense at all. And so we wanted just to close it, just to let it, keep it closed. And, if people who are unaffiliated, they want to vote Republican, okay, great, switch parties. Yeah. And I think it would drive people back to their parties, and it would strengthen the parties. But I don't think that's what the politicians want. They want to keep it the way it is. And they get liberal policies from both sides, and you get real squishy. When you have time to make changes, you get really squishy. You know, by this time, for example, when Biden was in, a year and a half in, think of how many people were in jail already for January 6th.
Wow, yes.
And you see all the crime stuff that's been going on with the election rigging and Russiagate and all that. And nobody's gone to jail on their side.
Wow.
Like, why is that? You know, they just don't care. They seem to be kind of squishy.
Yes.
So I think, I don't know. I just believe that if people would go back to their party. Anyway, the reason I go into this whole thing about Kate Barr and all that is I did a story on that published yesterday.
Yeah. Now we're about down to our last minute now, so we got to rush it through that. Go ahead.
Okay, that's it. Well, that was so that was why I brought it up, was because I had done a story on it yesterday.
Oh, excellent. This is really good. Jay, thank you for being on with us today. And I just really want to tell people out there, the primaries are on in full blown here in North Carolina. And the last thing you want to do, just because it's midterm, is to stay home. If you voted in the presidential elections, you need to be voting now. You really do. And
Amen.
Jay said you can follow him on that Substack, Jay DeLancy, vote checker. And that voterintegrity.com is still out there. He's just working on
voterintegrityproject.com.
Voterintegrityproject.com. That is still there. He's going to put a link so you can get to him. Jay, thank you so much. And
thank you, Johnny.
And I appreciate it because that JCS stands for Just Common Sense, but it also stands for Jesus Christ Saves.
Just Common Sense, a common sense approach to life with Dr. Johnny Hunter. Get involved and embrace common sense conservative principles when you visit learninc.org. LEARNINC, learninc.org. To listen, like, and share, look for Just Common Sense anywhere you listen to podcasts.